Hello again, ladies and gentlemen, Sonic Yoda from SEGADriven.com, and have I got a treat for you in this video, because we're taking a look at Parking Garage Rally Circuit. The developer Wallaby Entertainment has very kindly given us early access to the beta build of this game. This is due for release at some point in 2024 on PC first, but there is currently no firm release date at the time of recording. The developer has said that if the game sells 50,000 copies, it will be later ported to the Switch, and they've also said that if it sells 100,000 copies, that they're even going to attempt a Sega Saturn port of the game, which would be very interesting to see, because I know that homebrew Saturn development has come a long way in more recent years, but I've never seen anybody attempt anything quite as ambitious as something like this, so it would be lovely to see if that actually does happen at a later date. The game is currently being showcased on Steam as a part of the Tiny Teams event, which finishes on August the 15th, 2024. So if you want to go and take a look at it, you can see it on the Tiny Teams page as well. So this is an arcade time attack racer, which has visuals that are supposed to ape the look of Sega Saturn games, complete with that sort of dithered mesh effect that you get for transparencies like shadows and dirt. I actually really like the options menu, which is a straight callback to the Sega Saturn Action Replay cartridge menu, which is a really nice touch. But yeah, you race around multi-storey car parks. The circuits are very tight and twisty. You have to make liberal use of a drift boost to gain speed, because your base top speed is actually quite slow when you're not boosting, so you really want to be emphasising that sort of drift boost to gain higher top speed. You really do feel the difference between your standard top speed and the boosting speed, because when you stop boosting, it's almost like someone is slamming on the brakes. I actually thought something was wrong with my controller at first, because it feels really strange when this happens. Maybe it's something that can be tweaked before the final release of the game, so you slow down more gradually when you come out of a boost, but that's just a minor complaint, and it just is something that I noticed that feels a little bit unnatural. The handling model feels great otherwise. The cars are really responsive. The drift boost activates the same as something like Sonic and Sega All-Stars Racing, where you have a face button that starts the drifting instead of having to jump and lean into it like Mario Kart. Some of the tighter corners do require you to brake as well as drift, but the real challenge is maintaining a long chain of successful drift boosts to get a higher top speed and beat the ghosts set by the game to progress to the next circuit. It's a bit weird that you can't use the progress overview screen to select any circuit you want that you've unlocked, instead requiring you to select a car first and then navigate through the circuit options, but that's another minor complaint that can probably be fixed at a later date. But yeah, this is a really fun and arcadey presentation. It's also rounded out with a ska punk soundtrack, which is very memorable and complements the action, even if I am personally one of those punks that thinks ska is an abomination. But yeah, my only real complaint actually comes with the difficulty of the final circuit. The ghost rivals on that circuit in particular feel like they are getting so much more speed than you are, and I can't figure out how they're doing it. There's very few places on that circuit to successfully get the boost speed required to beat them, and with the first car that the game offers you, you actually don't get enough top speed to make a certain jump in the stage over the Statue of Liberty, and there's a straight before this jump as well, which means that there's no way that you can really sort of get a drift in before that jump. It's very difficult to do, and I don't know if it's a bug that you don't have enough top speed to just naturally drive over that jump. And with the first car, you can do it with the second car, and presumably the third one once you unlock those series of circuits, but I just cannot do it even with the second car. The top speed that those ghosts are getting is just so much faster than what you can get. I don't know whether this extra difficulty has been added on purpose to sort of block off access to this final car for the beta release, or I'm just not good enough to get there, but it does seem a little unfair and weighted very heavily towards the ghosts in that instance. I also spotted that the gold first place ghost would often still be showing as gold even though they were technically in second place. Now I assume this is because that ghost eventually finishes in first at the end of the race, but it's very confusing during the in-game action to not see that visually represented, because yeah, I noticed that you'd often see the silver ghost running ahead of the gold ghost, which doesn't make sense, because understandably you'd want to see the gold ghost in first place so that you know that that's what you're aiming for. Yeah, it's just a strange sort of visual hiccup there that I think, again, is something minor that could be corrected prior to release. But otherwise, this is a really, really enjoyable game with lots of colour, despite the mundane sort of circuit locations, being based in parking garages. They really mix up the action with the various hazards, like landslides that happen in one of the circuits, and there's a lightning storm in one that knocks out the electricity, and then you have to use your headlights to add the visibility to the stage. Yeah, really, really cool stuff. Like, it's just a lot of fun, great presentation, just really colourful, despite, like I say, those sort of mundane locations. They get a lot of colour and visual vibrancy out of those locations, despite them just all being parking garages. It's really well done. If you like arcade races and are looking for something that's visually very interesting, with a great handling model, then this is certainly the right racing game to put on your wish lists. Something I'd highly recommend, even at this stage. Some minor tweaks that could be ironed out at a later date, but other than that, I think this is definitely one to watch, especially if you like the look of it.
Ready, set, go!